What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Yarel, aka T Spillin. Welcome to Spillin' All the Tea. This segment is Spirit and Soul. What I wanted to do is, since we're in springtime, do like a little springtime mini-series, if you will, or segment. I think that probably makes more sense. And today is going to be the first of 3. So today, the topic is, what season are you in? For those of you who don't know, I am from Chicago, so we pretty much get the 4 seasons. There's spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So I'm going to use those 4 as my examples to kind of almost, how can I say, kind of show that we somewhat go through those same type of seasons in our own lives, and kind of give you a little bit of idea of which one you might be in, and help you to kind of identify where you're at, which might help you if you're a little stagnant or whatever. So we'll start with spring. So like I said, right before spring happens, there's all this snow that's sitting on the ground, and like I said, as it starts to warm up, what happens is, the snow, of course, is nothing but frozen water, so it begins to melt, and it begins to pretty much moisten the soil, and it helps with the fertility. And it also gets the soil ready to receive, and like I said, that actually, some will get ahead of myself, but spring represents renewal, represents new life, it represents a time of growth, and it also represents a time of breaking away from the cold. And like I said, winter is going to be the very last that I end on. So when you think about springtime, like I said, you go from being cooped up in the house to just wanting to go outside, smell the air, everything seems so fresh, so new. Have you ever had a time in your life where it seems like everything is new for you? Like doors are starting to open, there's new opportunities, it's like you get a second chance at certain things. You're probably in the springtime. It's new chances, new beginnings, a time of renewal, a time of growth. Time of fertility. Like, these are different things that spring represents. So one thing to remember is, like I said, when it's springtime, like I said, you get the rain here and there, but in this instance, think of the rain as God's word and His promise. This is a time that you want to really keep internalize it as you're moving through the motions. And then we get to summer. The unique thing about summer is it's hot. It's very, very hot. And the one thing I didn't mention about springtime is that is actually the ideal time to plant seeds, preferably good seeds. We'll sometimes mess up and do some bad things to plant a bad seed, but that's a time for planting good seeds. But then we get to summer. It gets hot, and the hotness can be, adversity. Actually, no, that's pretty much what it is. It's adversity. It's struggle. Again, we have those times where, things are going good, and things don't necessarily go south, but things get rough, things get tough. And we get to the fork in the road that I'll say, where we have to decide, are we going to continue to stick with God, stick with His word, stick with what He's telling us, stick with the promise? It's going to be hard. Are we going to stick with it, or are we just going to forsake Him and go the easy route? And that's what summertime is. Like, this isn't a time to run away. This is the time to run to. It's like the tunnel. You walk in, you can see the light at the end, but it's so small, so insignificant. But if you turn back, you see all the light of which you just came from. But do you really want to backpedal? It's like you got to chase after, what God has for you. You don't want to be stuck in this particular place when you go to your next season. So when the heat comes, you want to quench your thirst, or you want to make sure that the soil being your body, more or less, you want to make sure that it's still moistened, because it's going to get hot. Think about when people plant seeds and whatnot, real plants. When it gets hot, they have to continue to water. Sometimes water the plants 2 or 3 times a day, depending on how hot it gets. You have to do that when you get into this period of your life. But remember, it's a season. Then the next season, of course, is autumn, and it's a transitional period. Again, it's the middle between summer and winter, but autumn is a harvest season. And I mean, I will say, some of us can be in certain seasons for months, even years at a time. You know, I know that I've been in the summer where things were hot for at least a good 2 years. But, you know, you stick with it, you stick with God, you move into your autumn. And this is where you begin to reap, you know, all the good things that God has for you, you know. And like I said, you may not necessarily reap every seed, but, and I'll get to that momentarily, but, you know, you begin to reap. And my question is, and just think about it, have you ever known someone who has just been in a state of blessings for years on end? And it's not a bad thing or, you know, a jab or a stab at anybody, but where it just seems like, you know, wow, they're just constantly getting their blessings, constantly getting their blessings. Some people have a autumn that lasts for years. You have some that only last for a brief time period, you know, and sometimes it may deal with the seeds that you sow, or it may be the type of seed, which I'm going to get to momentarily. But that is when, you know, you're just reaping the benefits of, you know, what you've done. But then there's the dreaded winter. A lot of people don't like the winter because it gets cold. You know, people tend to, you know, get shut up in. Like I said, I know about the cold. For all those from Chicago, it get cold. And then factor in the wind. The windy city, it's the wind does not help. But the one thing about winter is it's actually vital. It's very, very vital. Because what the winter represents is for some plants, most plants, but some plants need the winter to, you know, start the new cycle. You have some plants that, you know, of course, there's natural parasites that are attracted to them. But for winter, for that plant to go through its next cycle, the parasites that have attached themselves to it need to die. Because if the parasites don't die, that plant cannot come back again. And that's one thing I want to focus on right here. Many of us, when we're in that, when we're in our autumn, you know, the time of blessing, every now and then we will adopt something that is not of God, something that, you know, takes us away from that blessing. When we go into that winter, it's not a bad thing, but what the winter represents is it is a time of reflection. It's a time for, like I said, you know, when it gets cold, what do? You go inside, you close the door. It's time for you to go inside. A time for you to search inwardly within you, analyze, and really try to figure out what you might have adopted that is not good. Because chances are, when we go to our winter, yes, there is something that we need to separate ourselves from. There is something that, for lack of better words, needs to die before we can move on to our next season, which is going to be spring. So that's one thing that you really want to think about. And what you don't want to do is to still be stuck in a winter and force yourself to believe or propel yourself into a spring that never exists because you're still sitting in winter. It's nothing worse than being in winter and you all trying to throw these seeds and, you know, start something new just for it to end as quickly as it started because you're still in a winter. An example that I could use is, you know, if you're in a relationship and everything is going well and then all of a sudden everything goes left. And you hit that winter. The winter, more or less, is probably where you need to, you know, go inwardly and figure out, you know, again, what that person did right, wrong, what you did right, what you did wrong, the takeaways, and give yourself time to heal. You know, get the comfort that you need, you know, the clarity before moving on. Because the last thing that you want to do is to take anything into the next relationship. Or what happens if in the breakup you become a very nasty or bitter person and everything you touch just, you know, goes completely south. Chances are you're probably sitting in that winter because that is a part of you that needs to die. That nastiness, that vengefulness, if you take that into your next relationship, again, it's going to end as quickly as it starts. Just something to keep in mind. And if you are right now sitting in a place where every time you move forward, it's like you're back in the same exact spot, you're probably sitting in the winter. And what I would recommend is, if you are, take the time to seek, just go inside, seek self. While you're there, talk to God, open up the good book. Chances are he's probably going to either show you in the book or probably send someone to help, okay? But what you don't want is to, again, be in that winter and keep trying to force yourself into a springtime to end back where you are. And the last thing that I want to talk about before I sign off is in terms of planting seeds and whatnot. when I was speaking about autumn and how, you know, some people can stay in a harvest period for longer periods of time. You just have to remember that, you know, just think about regular seeds. There are some seeds that you can plant in springtime and you're ready to harvest in regular, you know, 4 seasons. I'm talking about in the real world. You plant it in spring, by the time autumn comes, you can harvest it. You have other plants like, you know, trees, where you plant it, it takes years and it takes different cycles and different things to happen before that tree can even produce fruits. And you have some people that, you know, the what they planted so many years back, they're eating off of it for quite some time because it took so long for that blessing to come. So don't get discouraged, you know. And again, you know, if somebody is sitting in a place of harvest, you know, don't focus too much on, you know, what that person has, but get to what God has for you. And you guys, hopefully this has helped with this video and all others. Please rate, comment, subscribe, share it on your social media, share it with a friend, share it with family. All of my social media information will be in the description box down below. And yes, until next time, I love all of you. Thank you for watching. Peace.